Welcome to the Scaling Tech Podcast, the podcast for growing engineering teams. As always, this episode is brought to you by AgilityFeet.com, providers of technical staffing and software development services in Latin America for clients globally. All right, I'm here in Mexico City doing recordings around AI engineering for the Scaling Tech Podcast. And when people talk about AI engineering, building AI applications, we tend to be very Silicon Valley focused in that conversation, which is a shame because it misses out on a lot. In Latin America in general, we have a tremendous amount of engineering talent and growing adoption of AI. And Mexico City is an interesting place to see kind of what's happening in that. This interview is part of a series I recorded in Mexico City in early 2026. I'm sharing each conversation here in full on YouTube, and they'll also be featured in an upcoming Scaling Tech Podcast episode, where I'll tie together the key lessons and themes. If you enjoy these conversations, make sure to subscribe to the Scaling Tech Podcast so you don't miss the full episode when it drops. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, LinkedIn, and at scalingtechpod.com. Arin Sime from the Scaling Tech Podcast here in Mexico City at the IA Expo, and I'm here talking with Dr. Eduardo Perez, the founder of the AI Expo. So thanks for joining me, and thank
you for coming down here. And
it's my pleasure. My pleasure, and I appreciate the opportunity for us to speak with some of the excellent speakers that you put together for this. It's been a great event.
Yeah, I'm surprised myself. But, but it's been an interesting process, and I'm really glad that we've had very good speakers.
Good. Yeah, no, it's been very enjoyable. So let's start with tell our viewers a little bit about what is the AI Expo.
AI Expo, there's a couple of things that came into the fold of creating AI Expo. As you know, for the people listening, it's backwards, right? It's AI in the United States, but in Spanish it's inteligencia artificial. It's backwards. AI Expo, the first thing we realized is that the second largest native language is Spanish.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody speaks English, but their native language, first is Chinese, then Spanish, and I think English is like the third or fourth. And the other thing that we realized, there were a couple of things, but the other one is that with AI, language is no longer a barrier.
Right.
Right? Because I can, right now we can have a conversation in English and in Spanish. We can't have it in Chinese or Japanese, but, Latin American population is the second largest. So we felt there was a very good time to create an expo where, with a lot of respect to the experts and engineers that go deep down into the technology, for us it was like, we need to start make it practical for our daily life. That's what the sub theme is. Let's use it as a tool.
Yeah.
And it'll be part of our daily lives. Okay.
No, absolutely. And there's been a lot of interesting talks already today that, provide some inspiration and realization, even for myself as someone who's working in this space a lot, of, how this is affecting our lives. I want to come back to the point you made about Spanish being the second most common native language in the world, which is really interesting. We were talking about that earlier, and it shows the importance of the Spanish-speaking market, certainly. And so for companies that are building AI-driven applications, I guess maybe talk a little bit about what is the impact that you think that has on how we should be building AI applications, because I feel like the conversation is very Silicon Valley focused a lot of times, right?
Yes.
Which means it's very English focused also.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And so while certainly LLMs can do translation for us, and that's a great help, there may still be some other differences maybe in how they're built or how they're trained or, what are your thoughts on that?
The first thing that comes to mind is there's actually the solutions partner here in Mexico City. Their name is Celestial Dynamics. In English, Celestial Dynamics. And their goal, or one of their tools, is they create an LLM specifically for the people that speak Spanish in Mexico. Okay? because there's some words that are uniquely to Mexico and to Mexico City and to it's like in the States, right?
Right.
You can tell a Texan from a guy from New York, from a guy from Florida, and from the guy from the West Coast, right?
Right.
Same here, and they have different words that have different meanings depending on where you are in the different places. So that's one thing they're doing. They're doing the LLM specifically for Mexico.
That's a good example of how the dialects are different in
Correct.
Latin American Spanish. And so that shows the importance of building models that are focused on certain regions as well as certain use cases,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
So, I think it's commonly talked about in, kind of in the industry in general that, for instance, if you're building something for healthcare, you're probably going to build a model that's fine-tuned towards medical terminology, maybe has extra guardrails in it, et cetera, right? And somewhat similar, too, if you're doing something that is directed at the local market in Mexico, right?
Correct.
Understanding the differences in language.
And you probably understand it because your market is Latin America as well.
Right.
And you know that there's a difference in culture
Mm-hmm.
and the way things happen in the United States. It's different. The way it happens in Brazil is different in Mexico. And being able to integrate all of that, I think that's really key.
Yeah.
I think we have a tremendous opportunity because it's global. Internet is global. Language is no longer a barrier. So being able to integrate people from wherever they are, really, I mean, you and I could be having this conversation anywhere in the world, really.
Yeah.
And the podcast is going to go everywhere in the world. So it doesn't matter where you are. So
yeah,
that's what
absolutely. No, and I appreciate I like how you've put together this expo with kind of this Latin American perspective, because I think that is so important to make sure that that's getting out there too.
Correct.
So let's move from there. So tell me a little bit more about like your impressions in general of AI engineering and building AI applications in Mexico specifically, if you like, or in Latam in general.
I tell you what, my personal experience, because I lived in the United States for over 50 years, and I worked for many years in the high-tech industry, and I was a member of a graphical programming language called LabView, which was I'm looking at the diagrams that an A10 is doing, and I'm going like, Jesus Christ, we were doing this 40 years ago. Literally you do a block diagram.
Yeah.
And my job was to hide all the computing behind a little icon that you just connected. And it removed a lot of the scientists from having to do all the programming. Yeah. That's how it started.
Yeah.
And you know that this AI stuff, it's been going in waves. That was one. And then and for my personal experience, I was doing a lot of machine learning at the end with a big telecom company in the United States. And I got to the point where like I could tell every minute which system was going to fail, or at least which system was out of whack.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you could quickly avoid catastrophic. And the thing about these huge systems is that once one thing fails, it's like a chain reaction. So it's just like the domino effect, right? So, and all of a sudden, there's no internet and there's no service, and it happens. It has happened. For me, the important things came out of the work that I was doing. I was realizing that our behavior was extremely predictable. The human behavior is extremely predictable. We are extremely predictable, and it makes sense that AI can extract statistically how we're going to behave. And you saw that in the presentations, right? Yeah. It's like it's not what you're going to buy right now. It's what you're predicting when that guy's going to purchase his next blue jeans, right?
Right.
And but it bubbles through the whole thing. It's the domino effect, because it's not just delivering the gene, is planning all the logistics, the warehousing, and where it's going to go. It could save companies a lot of money.
I love the example you gave of LabView, because I have to tell you, I relate to that very, very personally. Oh, really? About 30 years ago, my first, when I graduated initially undergrad as an electrical engineer, I was designing circuit boards.
And some of the first real programming I did was using LabView.
Okay, really?
And actually the first time I spoke
one of the developers.
well, thank you. Thank you for your work. I benefited from it then. And actually, the first time I gave a conference talk was at a National Instruments conference in Texas.
I worked with Jeff Kadowski. I don't know if that
does
name
ring a bell.
Wow. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. So it's a small world.
No kidding.
But I've thought about because LabView, as you were saying, and for those who aren't familiar, it's like a visual programming, and it's very helpful in like electrical engineering and sort of tying things together. And,
Correct.
And so a benefit of that was that it allowed me with less programming experience,
correct,
but still strong technical and engineering understanding to put together systems more easily. And so I think there's a lot of parallels between how that kind of LabVIEW programming worked 30 years ago in my career to how we see kind of AI being used now. And one of the things that I've often thought about that in that example is that, it didn't eliminate the need for engineers or engineering knowledge at all. In fact, it enhanced the ability of what we could do and opened up more opportunities for us to create value. And that's kind of the way I think about when people talk about what's the impact of AI on software development. It's huge. It's a big impact.
Yes, it is.
But it is not eliminating. It reshapes how we do work.
You're right.
It opens up doors.
No, I totally agree. For us, that we went through the programming and the steps of that, I think the value there is the richness, and we've had this conversation before with other people. It's the amount of experience that you get over 30 years, 40 years. And then these tools come in and they say like, it's for us is to even keep it keeps simplifying the process of developing the product.
Yeah.
Same with LabVIEW, it took us 1 year and it was like record time, right? 1 year today. I remember the days when they said like, we have a 2-year cycle and we can plan to, you can't do that today. There's no way you can do that. If you have an idea and you don't implement it in a few days or a month, you're behind.
Yeah.
You're already behind.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to come up with that idea.
You've got to get it out to users faster, and that's where definitely all of this is helpful, and where it's important to have conferences like this to help people, understand the tooling that's out there. Everything we saw talks so far today, everything from kind of how this will affect sort of our interpersonal relationships to vibe marketing to engineering topics as well. So let's close then. Eduardo, I appreciate your time with this, but I want to make sure that you have a chance to share with our viewers and listeners what you see as your vision for the AI Expo.
First thing, I think I've had this feeling for some time. I believe that 2026 is like it's like the turning point year. Mm-hmm. The feeling of like things are coming out of the lab, the XAIs, OpenAIs, and Mistral, and all of those people, Perplexity, and all of these guys, into making it more practical. Well, to answer your question is, and this conference actually confirms what I was suspecting is that, a lot of people are using it, but the adoption is still in its infancy. It's less than 20%. Mm-hmm. My feeling is that it's going to go to 80, 90, and 100% in a few years. So this is the right time in making the transition for people to not see it as a technology that is to fight against, right, but to start using it, to start applying it to our daily living. Yeah. And we are, as simple as like, for me, it's like quickly do the agenda for the AI Expo and make a suggestion, all of these things. I would have taken a long time for me to do it. And with the support of AI, I was able to do it in minimal time, save myself a lot of money and little things like that. Yeah. And it's just one example, but people are doing avatars and videos and creating songs and things like that, so I think I hope that creativity becomes like a really important thing about the usage of AI. And in the sense of not only entertainment, but productivity, new products, resolutions, relationships, and the social impact as well.
Fantastic. And so these conferences will be a way then to kind of bring together some people
Correct.
interested in that creative application of AI and learning from each other.
Correct. And be the creative, start using AI, start using the tools to simplify your life and make things better, really.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again for your time and for hosting us this Scaling Tech podcast.
It's a pleasure, and we'll have more, and there's more to come.
Looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. This interview will be part of an upcoming Scaling Tech podcast episode on AI engineering in Mexico, along with insights from multiple other conversations I recorded there. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss it. You can find links to all our episodes, socials, and show notes at scalingtechpod.com.